The SCIMAP toolkit allows you to answer one question, which is, where do you place mitigation features for diffuse problems within the landscape? So SCIMAP mapping is based on a risk-based approach to look across landscapes and across catchments and analyse their connectivity and source risks to come up with detailed maps that have fine spatial resolution with subfield scale detail, but at the landscape extent. And these predictions then give you an idea of the likely spatial sources of diffuse pollutants from across the landscape. In terms of the foundations, the key concept is that of the critical source area. So this is where the sources and connections combine together to create a problem. SCIMAP maps out the erosion and mobilization, the connectivity and pathways, and then that is routed through the landscape. The approach takes a time-integrated rather than dynamic view of the world to look where, on average, most of the pollutants are coming from, rather than in response to a certain storm event. Now, there's a number of kind of more refined versions of SCIMAP. There is the SCIMAP fitted approach, which aims to match a spatial pattern of observations around kind of salmon and trout, phosphorus and nitrogen, or FIOs, or in the case of the map here, the trophic diatom index. And that enables you to fit the land use weights to those different land covers to get a more refined SCIMAP map. There's also the SCIMAP FIO tool. Now, this combines together a model from David Oliver around the burden and the contribution of E. coli to certain location. That was then kind of upscaled and spatialized across catchments, and that can be integrated with the connectivity and the SCIMAP treatment to give likely sources of connectivity. So all of these tools are available as part of the MySCIMAP web-based applications. So I'm just going to quickly show you those now. This is the FIO version of the MySCIMAP web application. And what you can see here is the Yorkshire Derwent catchment that's been calculated. And within this system, you're able to go through and calculate the catchment and the risk weightings and output the results. So you can create a new catchment for anywhere that you're interested in. So you can zoom into a certain area, select a point on a channel as your catchment outlet. So just click here, for example, you can give it a name, click calculate, it will go through and calculate that river channel. But here's one I prepared earlier, which is the Yorkshire Derwent. So here you can see the DEM and the channels. This is the land cover. This is the rainfall map. And this is a sample from the national FIO burden layer. For each of these catchments, you can calculate parameters. So here, if we're going to do a standard sediment SCIMAP, the Yorkshire Derwent is a standard set of risk weightings. Then when we go into the build tab, we can create a new simulation. So North Yorkshire, select out our catchment as the Yorkshire Derwent. We can either do a seasonal FIO burden. We can do it with a custom set for the FIO, or we can use a parameter set for doing sediment. So we can select Yorkshire Derwent. And if we click run, that will then run through the sediment version. If we use an FIO seasonal set, we can say, well, actually, what is the July FIO burden across this catchment, and click run. Once we've run that, we can go to the results tab. And here we can see that the Yorkshire Derwent, this is the annual maximum FIO load. I just turn the background off and change it to the aerial mapping. You can see here that we're able to map out where these are across the different river channels. I'll just zoom back out to the full catchment. But for the same catchment, we can also look at the sediment and the erosion risk potential for the sediment. So this then starts to highlight out certain hillsides, certain slopes that are more useful to look at. Once you've got these results, you want to be able to export them out to a GIS system. At the bottom, you've got three options. You can download the results that will give you a set of GeoTIFF files. You can export it as a KMZ, and also you can get a WMS link, a web mapping service link. Overall, SCIMAP is a risk mapping tool. It works for sediments, it works for nutrients, and for FIOs. You can use the web-based versions at MySCIMAP or FIO.scimap, and there is a desktop version for dealing with larger data sets.